Muscle loss is not just a part of aging. It's one of the most dangerous and heartbreaking symptoms of what we call sarcopenia, and it happens faster than most people realize. In the United States, millions of seniors are silently struggling with muscle atrophy, weakness, and frailty, without even knowing there's a name for it. Sarcopenia can begin as early as age 40, but by the time a person in the United States reaches 70, they might have already lost up to 30% of their muscle mass, and for many, it's worse. This isn't just about looking thin or weak. This is about losing independence, losing the ability to get out of a chair without help, struggling to climb stairs, being afraid of falling, and in some tragic cases, not even being able to hold a fork or walk across a room. The first and most critical step is to understand what your muscles need and what they're not getting. Because it's not just about protein. That's the biggest myth circulating in the health and wellness industry today, especially in the United States and Canada, where people are told to just eat more protein, and they'll be fine. Seniors in the United Kingdom and Australia are hearing the same vague advice. But the truth is, muscle loss in older adults isn't just about how much protein you're eating. It's about how your aging body is processing that protein, how it's using specific amino acids, and whether you're feeding your muscles with the exact compounds they need to grow. One of the most powerful muscle-preserving nutrients that gets completely overlooked is leucine. Not all amino acids are created equal, and leucine plays a specific role in triggering muscle protein synthesis, which is the exact biological process your body uses to build new muscle. Without enough leucine, you could be eating a huge steak every night and still losing muscle mass month after month. That's why scientists are now urging older adults, especially in the United States, where muscle loss is tied to higher hospital admissions, to consume leucine-rich foods daily. Now, here's where it gets serious. A 78-year-old man in Ohio lost his ability to walk after just 3 weeks in the hospital recovering from pneumonia. He wasn't injured. He wasn't even bedridden the whole time. But the combination of low protein intake, inflammation, and inactivity triggered extreme sarcopenia. That story is not rare. Doctors in the United States are seeing it constantly. Hospital-acquired muscle wasting is real. And the worst part? No one is telling patients what to eat to rebuild that muscle even after they go home. Here's what you need to eat if your muscles are vanishing. Whey protein isolate enriched with leucine. This is not just a random supplement. It is one of the few scientifically backed, clinically supported interventions that actually stimulates muscle growth. In aging adults, even those who aren't doing intense resistance training, studies in both Canada and the United Kingdom have shown that older adults consuming 20-40 grams of high leucine whey protein per day experienced increased muscle mass and improved strength, especially when combined with even light resistance. Exercise, like bands or light weights, eggs, particularly the whites, are another crucial source of high-quality protein that contains leucine. But even more potent than eggs is cottage cheese, which is not only rich in casein, a slow-digesting protein ideal before bed, but also provides a decent leucine dose. This can help fight the overnight catabolic window, where older bodies often break down muscle tissue for energy. The reason behind this is that overnight fasting, which younger bodies recover from easily, leads to significant muscle degradation in older individuals unless their nighttime meals are rich in the right amino acids. But there's something else: creatine monohydrate. This supplement has long been marketed to bodybuilders in the United States, but it's one of the most underused tools for preserving muscle in older adults. Multiple double-blind studies conducted across Canada and Australia have shown that creatine not only increases muscle mass and strength, but also improves neuromuscular function, which means it enhances the connection between your brain and your muscles, helping you stay coordinated, mobile, and steady. In the United States, there's still hesitation about giving creatine to seniors, but clinical trials continue to prove its benefits. What most people don't realize is that muscle isn't just for movement. Muscle is a metabolic organ. Losing it means slower metabolism, higher blood sugar, increased fat accumulation, and even weaker immune function. Muscle mass is directly tied to survival in the elderly. If you fall and break a hip and you've already lost too much muscle, the chance of recovering drops dramatically. In fact, data from long-term care centers in the United States shows that elderly individuals with low muscle mass have triple the risk of mortality within 1 year of major surgery or hospitalization. Triple. This is not just about aesthetics. It's life or death. Let's talk about something emotional. Imagine an 82-year-old woman in Texas who's lived in her home for 45 years. She loves her garden, but her legs have gotten so weak, she can't kneel anymore. She's scared to walk on the EBUR, grass, because one misstep could mean a fall. She hasn't picked a flower in 2 years. That's what sarcopenia does. It robs people of life's smallest joys. She was eating healthy, some toast, some yogurt, some soup, but no one ever told her she needed 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day to maintain muscle. That's almost double what young people need, because seniors' bodies are resistant to anabolic stimuli. In plain terms, older muscles ignore weak signals. You need more protein, more leucine, more anabolic push to get them to grow. There's another powerful food many seniors overlook: salmon, especially wild-caught. It's rich in omega-3 fatty acids, and omega-3s actually increase muscle protein synthesis by reducing inflammation and enhancing cellular function. Chronic inflammation is one of the silent killers of muscle growth. In the United States, it's extremely common for older adults to suffer from undiagnosed low-grade inflammation due to poor diet, stress, or medications. Omega-3s can lower that inflammation and improve the muscle's responsiveness to dietary protein. Combine salmon with whey protein, leucine, and even a small dose of creatine, and you have one of the most anabolic meal combinations for seniors. Trying to gain strength, vitamin D is another key nutrient. Older adults in northern areas of the United States, Canada, and even the United Kingdom are frequently deficient in vitamin D, especially during the winter. What many people don't know is that vitamin D plays a crucial role in muscle strength, balance, and coordination. In fact, a lack of vitamin D has been directly linked to increased risk of falls, and in some studies, vitamin D supplementation reduced fall risk by over 20%. That might not sound dramatic, but if you think about the consequences of just one bad fall, a fractured hip, hospitalization, rehabilitation, or even nursing home placement, that 20% could be the difference between living independently and losing everything. Another forgotten food that holds surprising power is beef liver. While it may not be popular in modern diets, especially in the United States, liver is packed with B12, iron, protein, and vitamin A, all of which support muscular health and mitochondrial energy. Mitochondria are the energy factories inside your cells, and they become less efficient with age. Feeding them the right nutrients means you generate more energy at the cellular level, which directly affects your ability to move, lift, and walk with confidence. But food is not the only solution. Timing matters. Studies have shown that seniors who eat protein-rich meals in the morning and after light exercise build muscle more effectively. This means that having a bowl of oatmeal and a slice of toast in the morning is doing nothing for your muscle health. Instead, having Greek yogurt with added whey protein or scrambled eggs with a slice of whole grain toast can radically shift your body from muscle-wasting mode to anabolic mode. Even those in their 70s, 80s, and 90s in the United States and Australia have successfully reversed muscle loss by adopting these principles. The key is consistency. Eating a high-protein, leucine-rich diet every day, even when you're not feeling hungry. Seniors often experience a reduction in appetite, but giving in to that feeling accelerates muscle wasting. If you wait until you're hungry to eat, you're too late. Appetite suppression in aging is dangerous, and the only way to outsmart it is to treat meals like medicine. You also need to be aware of one of the most insidious things happening in the United States healthcare system right now: the lack of nutritional intervention for seniors who are already in the hospital or in rehab centers. If someone over 70 is recovering from surgery, a fall, or illness, you would think hospitals would automatically give them muscle-supportive nutrition. But they don't. In many hospitals across the United States, Canada, and even the United Kingdom, elderly patients are given meals high in refined carbohydrates and sugars, white bread, pudding, sweetened juice, and low in the very nutrients that build and maintain muscle. These diets are not just unhelpful, they're harmful. This is why families need to advocate fiercely for better meals, supplements, and proper protein support if their loved ones are hospitalized or in long-term care. There is also resistance training, and it is not optional. Even if you're eating perfectly, without telling your muscles to grow through resistance, the body will simply not respond the way you want it to. But this doesn't mean you need to go to the gym or lift heavy weights. In fact, body weight squats, resistance bands, and even chair-assisted exercises can completely change the outcome of aging. People in their 80s and 90s have shown measurable increases in muscle mass from doing simple resistance band workouts 3 times a week. And when combined with high leucine whey protein, creatine, and vitamin D, the results are even more dramatic. This combination has been studied in randomized trials and has shown real, visible improvements in both muscle size and physical function. Collagen is another element that's been getting more attention recently, especially in the United States, where supplement companies are pushing it hard for skin and joint health. But the truth is, collagen by itself does very little for muscle growth, unless it's combined with other amino acids. However, hydrolyzed collagen peptides, when paired with vitamin C and a small amount of leucine, may help with tendon strength, joint stability, and overall connective tissue support, which indirectly contributes to better strength and mobility. Magnesium is also a mineral that is widely deficient in seniors, particularly in the United States and Canada. Low magnesium can cause muscle cramps, poor recovery, and even higher risk of insulin resistance, which leads to fat gain and further muscle loss. Magnesium also helps regulate sleep, and sleep is when a lot of muscle repair happens. Without adequate deep sleep, your muscles cannot rebuild, even if you're eating all the right foods. Seniors should aim for 300–400 mg of magnesium daily, ideally from glycinate or citrate forms, which are more absorbable than the oxide form often found in cheap supplements. Then there's hydration, and while it seems basic, it's crucial. As people age, their sense of thirst declines, and they often drink far less water than they need. Dehydration not only causes fatigue, but reduces muscle function, impairs digestion, and even increases the risk of falls. Seniors need to consciously drink water throughout the day, even if they don't feel thirsty. In the United States, dehydration-related ER visits in the elderly are far more common than people realize, and many of those cases are linked to muscle cramps, weakness, and dizziness that could have been prevented. Inflammation also needs to be tackled head-on. Chronic inflammation, often caused by poor diet, stress, and undiagnosed gut issues, acts like a silent saboteur, constantly breaking down muscle tissue. Foods that fight inflammation, like turmeric, olive oil, leafy greens, avocados, and berries should be in the daily diet of every senior. But these foods are rarely seen in traditional senior meals in the United States or United Kingdom. Instead, meals often include processed meats, instant mashed potatoes, margarine, and canned fruits in syrup, all of which promote inflammation. Gut health is also critical, because if your gut can't absorb the nutrients you're eating, your muscle won't grow. Seniors often suffer from low stomach acid, which leads to impaired protein digestion and poor absorption of key nutrients like B12, zinc, and iron. Supplementing with digestive enzymes or betaine HCl before meals can significantly improve protein, breakdown, and absorption. This is especially important for those who feel bloated or full after eating just a small portion. Another hidden cause of muscle loss in the elderly population, especially in the United States, is the overuse of prescription medications. Drugs like corticosteroids, certain statins, and even some blood pressure medications have been shown to contribute to muscle wasting over time. Yet these drugs are routinely prescribed without a plan to offset their side effects. Seniors should never stop medications on their own, but it is critical that healthcare providers are asked directly, "Is this drug affecting my muscle health? What can be done to counteract that?" One of the most emotionally devastating effects of muscle loss is what it does to a person's confidence and identity. In the United States, where independence is deeply tied to self-worth, many seniors begin to isolate themselves when they can't walk as far, lift as much, or do simple tasks like carry groceries or pick up a grandchild. They stop socializing. They avoid gatherings. Their world shrinks. And in that shrinking world, both physical and mental health collapse. Muscle loss leads to depression. Depression reduces motivation. Reduced motivation leads to less activity. And less activity speeds up the loss of muscle. It is a brutal cycle. There are many stories like the one of a man in Florida who was once a firefighter, strong, capable, respected. But after retirement and several years of inactivity, poor diet, and lack of guidance, he developed sarcopenia so severe he needed help getting out of bed. When asked what happened, he simply said, "No one told me I was disappearing." That phrase, disappearing, is exactly what sarcopenia feels like for millions. Your body fades, your strength fades, your freedom fades. But the good news is muscle can be rebuilt, no matter how old you are. Studies have shown that even people in their 90s can regain strength and independence by applying the right nutrition and movement strategies. But it requires action. It requires high-protein, leucine-rich meals, strength-building movement, targeted supplements like creatine and vitamin D, anti-inflammatory foods, hydration, and support. It requires shifting away from the just rest and recover advice, and toward eat and move with precision. Most importantly, it requires education, something seniors in the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia are not getting enough of. Doctors aren't trained in nutrition. Hospitals are underfunded and understaffed. And the advice people get is often vague, outdated, or flat-out wrong. This is why individuals and families need to take ownership. Read the labels. Demand better food. Ask questions. Learn which foods feed muscle and which foods take it away. Because the truth is, disappearing isn't a part of aging. It's a consequence of being undernourished, undertrained, and underserved. But it can be stopped. With every meal, with every step, with every decision to feed your body what it truly needs, the strength can come back. The independence can return. The spark of life can be restored. And it all begins with knowing what to eat and doing it every single day.